Captain Paul for the locker room here. Let's get right into it. The Toronto Maple Leafs. They had a pretty good season. They got past the first round, finally lost in the second round to the eventual Eastern Conference representative in the finals, the Florida Panthers. But, hey, they have not sat on their hands. They have made some additions in the offseason. They have seen a couple guys leave. But with the additions of Domi and Bertuzzi, and even bringing in Martin Jones as a third goalie in their depth chart, are the Leafs destined to be far greater than they have in seasons past? Before we get into the video, I appreciate if you can drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you're not already. Let's get right into it. So, the Toronto Maple Leafs, currently $13 million over the cap, and you know, there's going to be some cap manipulation with Muzzin and other people being out. But we're just going to kind of have the conversation regarding the additions they have made and seeing how good this team can be. I'm not necessarily sure what the deal with Muzzin. I know Muzzin, it seems like Murray, they're going to be done. So it's going to be over, it's going to be about 10 point something million. So they'll have cap opening up. They might have to make a minor move to open up a little bit more. But let's go into the forward group and see, you know, what do we like here? What additions have they made? And are they good? And I have to be very honest with you here. I like Bertuzzi. I liked him in Boston. I liked him in Detroit even before that. I always wanted to get him in Boston as a Bruins fan. Bertuzzi has a lot of good aspects to his game. He has the potential to be like a 20, 30 goal scorer and be around 60 plus points on the season when he plays a full season. So Bertuzzi's going to add some nice depth, nice different dimension to the Leafs that I feel like they don't have. And then bringing in Max Domi, and I mean, let's be honest, the famous son of Ty Domi, right? Ty Domi's son. Ty Domi was very loved in the Maple Leafs organization, in the fan base. So this is a good move. And Domi, while he kind of cooled down when he went to Dallas, is still a very good player. And adding second line depth is never a bad thing. So Bertuzzi, Matthews, and Marner. If those are the lines, I think that's pretty good. I think Bertuzzi adds a good playmaking ability. Like, he's a good half and half player. Marner's a fantastic playmaker, and Matthews, he can bury the puck with the best of them. And I mean, after that huge deal that Matthews just signed, the extension, they're going to be looking to him have a continually good season and score around 100 points if he can play a full 82. So that first line is one of the best in the NHL. Can Austin Matthews bury the puck? Yep. I think Bertuzzi adds a little bit of grit to that line that I think they kind of need. They do lose Michael Bunting, who went elsewhere, but I think Bertuzzi is an upgrade in that regard. Second line, you got John Tavares, Domi, and Nylander. Now, there has been discussion about Nylander possibly being moved, but now he's had, you know, statements saying that he would want to stay in Toronto for the foreseeable future. So, but let's go with the idea that this is the second line. Nylander proved he's a valuable player at 87 points in 82 games played. He had 40 goals last season. John Tavares, well, I feel like at times unfairly criticized. I think a lot of that due to the contract. Is still a really good center. And on most teams, they would love to have a guy of his caliber as their second line center. Their center spot with the Maple Leafs, to be fair, is pretty damn good with the top two lines. And then Domi, he had a good season. And maybe him paired with Tavares and Nylander, maybe you get more out of him, right? He can play center, he can play wing. And I think the top six of the Maple Leafs, and it's never been a complaint for me with the Maple Leafs, they're going to be good. The Maple Leafs offense is always good. Now, third line, David Kampf, Yarncrook, and Lafferty. Solid enough. Good third lines. I mean, Yarncrook had 39 points. Kampf and Lafferty had 27 points respectively. Yeah, I mean, their third line's solid. I think Matthew Knives, who only played a few games in the regular season, looked pretty good, pretty damn good in the postseason. I think he'll kind of challenge for that third line role. Cat friendly, they have him in the fourth line. Maybe on the fourth line, but he's a big body that I could see challenging for that third line role. But yeah, we'll go into that fourth line. They also added Ryan Reeves, known physical contributor, good fighter, and kind of a seeing a little bit of adjustment here. Will Holmberg be that fourth line center? We're going to have to see. You're going to wait and see here on that situation. But a guy on this roster that I expect to make maybe not a massive leap, considering only played a few games in totality really last season. I think Matthew Knies will be very good for this team. Is he ever going to be a top line winger? I'm not sure. But I think at the very least he showed middle six potential. And with his size and skill set, I mean, hey, the Leafs could have themselves a really good player here. And I think that's what the Leafs really need. They need guys like Matthew Knies to be into this lineup to infuse a little bit of physicality. He's a big kid. He's only 20 years old. I think this is a perfect player for this system that they hopefully can develop to be that gritty forward that they need. So up front with the Maple Leafs, they're like one of the better teams in the NHL. There's no denying that. It's never been a question of offense. So to me, they're an above average, borderline elite offensive team. I mean, look at this. Look at the top six. I mean, Bertuzzi, Matthews, Marner, Domi, Tavares, Nylander. Most of those guys, like, you know, I could argue Tavares and Nylander would be on first lines on a lot of other teams in the NHL. So yes, the Maple Leafs have an excess of riches when it comes to the forward production. Now, defense. This is the problem with the Maple Leafs, I would say, the past few years. Last year, they got a little bit better, but is their defense good enough? Now, Morgan Riley, very good defenseman. 65 games played, 4 goals, 37 assists for 41 points. He's a producer on the back end. He's very competent. TJ Brody, he's solid enough. Watching him last season, especially in the post, it seemed like he lost a little bit of a step. He's getting a little bit older. He's only 33, right? So it shouldn't be that much of a degradation of his game, but he looked a little bit slower. I don't know if he was battling something. Jake McCabe, solid in his own right. Klingberg, he can be an offensive contributor. And then you have Mark Giordano again, who I think for being a third pairing guy at his age, he's still producing at a very good clip. He's still playing very solid defense. So him on a third pairing with Liljegren, I'm not mad at it. Liljegren, though, I'd like to see him take another step and kind of battle for that top four. The defense for me with the Leafs is average at best. Morgan Riley, can he be a number one on a Stanley Cup champion? I'm not sure. I think he's a very good defenseman. He's by far the best one the Maple Leafs have right now. Is Brody going to have a bounce back year? I just remember some times in the postseason that he just did not look like himself. Klingberg, will he be solid in his own end? Yes, he can contribute offensively, but can he be solid? I know a lot of Leafs fans were happy that Justin Hall got shipped off, and he did look like a turnstile at times, but I don't know if he was your sole issue defensively. But for me, this is an average decor. Maybe could be better depending on how some of these other players pan out. If Liljegren takes that next step, he's only 24, he's 6 foot. Can he be that top four defenseman? If he can develop into that and be relied on heavy minutes, I probably look at this Maple Leafs defense a little bit better. But for me right now, it's just average. And then the goaltending situation. Now, Matt Murray's at hurt. I don't think he'll ever be back. It just seems like Matt Murray, he stubs his toe and he's out for 10 years. But Ilya Samsonov and Joseph Woll. Now, Woll I liked a lot. Samsonov got hurt in the postseason. Joseph Woll showed me everything I want for a backup. Now, they did sign Martin Jones. He's going to be probably their third goalie in the depth chart. But Woll, he's proven to me, hey, I can be that guy. I can be that steady and present. The Leafs did not lose because Woll played terrible. Considering the situation we put in and how well he looked, I'm extremely happy for him and his situation finally breaking through. He looked great. And then in the small sample size of the regular season, 7 games played, 2.16 goals against average and a .932. And a 6-1 record. He did everything you wanted a goaltender. Give him the shot. So I'm glad the Maple Leafs are deciding to go with the youth. I think that's important. You gotta give these kids a chance. And then for Ilya Samsonov, he had a great year. Fantastic year. 42 games played, 2.33 goals against average, .919 save percentage. I was worried about the depth chart last season in goal for the Maple Leafs. Mainly due to being Samsonov and Murray. Samsonov never really being the guy, the number one, the only guy. And then Murray with his injuries. Now, the Murray thing did happen to be true. I was worried that he's just going to get hurt again, and he did. But I was wrong about Samsonov. He proved to me that he can be that number one guy, and I'm happy for him. He's always shown those flashes, but he really kind of rounded into form and showed probably the most complete seasons I've ever seen from him. He helped win the Maple Leafs quite a bit of games. So looking at this roster, looking at the depth, you might be thinking, well, what are you thinking about this team? There's a lot of talent, and you can never deny it. They're going to finish top 3 in the Atlantic. I'm not sitting here saying they're not going to finish top 3. But at this point, with this iteration of the team, right, it no longer matters about a regular season. Can they get past the second round? Can they make that next jump? Can they be the guys that, like, hey, like, we're going to go the distance? Like, until that happens, in my opinion, we're just going to have the same conversation. A lot of Maple Leafs fans are extremely passionate about their team. I love that passion. I don't think they would disagree with what I'm saying. Like, you got to prove to me that you can do this in the postseason regularly. Like, you can get past the second round. You can come out of the Eastern Conference and win a cup. The Maple Leafs offensively, and I even think now with the goaltending, they have enough. I'd like to see them add another defenseman through a trade. I know they don't really have the cap flexibility. I think the perfect situation, for me would be like adding another really good top 4 defenseman, whether that be ousting a guy like Brody or something. But like, if you could bring another quality defenseman in with the Toronto Maple Leafs, yeah, they'd easily be cup contenders. They have the superstar scoring in Austin Matthews, Marner, and Nylander, right? I mean, I don't consider Nylander a superstar, he's a star. But Marner and Matthews, you have the amazing top line talent, and then Nylander, that depth scoring, who would be on a number 1 line on pretty much any other team. They just need to show me, like, hey, can we play a full end? And for me, Sheldon Keefe, he's got to show me he can coach and he can kind of help this team get over the hump. And that's kind of where I'm at. Now, let's go into the Toronto Marlies. I know it infuriates some Maple Leaf fans when I say it that way, but hey, the U.S. Excuse my ignorance. Is there anyone here that could potentially battle for a 4th line spot? Now, Logan Shaw, he was a point per game player with the Marlies, 21 goals, 40 assists, 69 points. Could he battle? And looking at Logan Shaw, he's an older guy. So, born in 92, 31 years old. He's a career AHLer. So, I'm not looking at him as an internal option. So, let me go back over. Okay, what about Alex Steves? Like, oh, can this guy maybe battle? He's a little bit younger, right? He's about, what was that, 24, 25? The problem I see with the Marlies is, and even with their third guy leading in scorers for offensively, I don't know if there's much depth here outside in their AHL system to have a solid 3rd line option, maybe a 4th line. Maybe some of these guys, to be fair to them, could fill a good 4th line role, but I don't think any internal options are currently in the docket to fill holes. Looking at the scouting reports, they have, some potential good hits down the road. I just think they're a little bit further away, and we'll see how their draft picks pan out. But everything that is going to be seen on this year's roster is going to be from pretty much, it's already NHL caliber. Where do I think they'll lie? Where do I think they'll finish? Yeah, I mean, with the Maple Leafs, I never questioned the regular season. I could see them finishing first. I could see them finishing second. They're not going to finish outside the top 3. They have too much talent. Now we're at the point where it's like, just prove to me in the postseason. And I love what I saw. They got to that next round. And then, to be fair, the Florida Panthers just were on that magical run that I felt like no one out of the East was going to stop them. I didn't think anyone was going to stop them until they ran into the Knights. That's a good learning experience for the Leafs. They got past the first round, got that monkey off their back. and now they can just focus on the future. So easily going to finish top 3. If you had a gun to my head, exact position, I could see them finishing first in the Atlantic. They have all the talent in the world. Their game's very conducive to being successful in the regular season, and they showed some flashes of grit in the postseason that I need to see. But I'd like to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. For the Maple Leafs, where do you think they'll finish? Do you think they'll come out of the Eastern Conference? And if not, how far will they go in the postseason? I'm Captain Paul. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.